Welcome, everyone, to this meeting of the South Kingstown Town Council. It is Monday, April 11th. The time is 7:30. Our first order of business, as always, is the pledge to the flag. Please rise and join me. Thank you. And will the clerk please take the roll? Here.
Here. Here. Here.
Here. Great. Item 4 on the agenda is the approval of minutes of previous meetings. Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion to approve, oops, I skipped a page. I make a motion to approve the minutes of the previous meetings, A, B, and C, as presented on page 1.
Second.
So moved. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And that motion carries unanimously. Item 5 is the consent agenda.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
So moved. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And that motion carries unanimously. Item 6, licenses. 6A is a resolution granting a theater license to the Contemporary Theater Company of 321 Main Street in Wakefield. This application is by Christopher J. Simpson. Chris, please come to the podium. Tell us your name for the record.
My name is, and that's really loud, my name is Christopher Simpson. I'm the artistic director of the Contemporary Theater Company on Main Street in Wakefield.
Welcome.
Thank you.
And of course, you've been in town for a while, but this isn't a renewal, so tell us why you're getting a new license.
Sure. So for a long time, as you know, we traveled throughout the town and we had a traveling theater license. Then we were lucky to find the permanent home on Main Street at 327, where we have a theater license that we renew annually. But we now have purchased the building and the parcel behind the theater where Thunder Mist used to be and Peter Himmel used to have his practice and residence. And we now have that building. And on that lot, we've installed a patio that has a small stage immediately adjacent to the pedestrian bridge, on which we intend to perform some family shows on the Riverfire nights and Shakespeare on the Saugatucket on Wednesday and Sunday nights, free performances for the public throughout the summer. But it came to our attention, as it should, that being on a separate parcel required a separate license. So we have applied for that and hope to proceed with outdoor entertainment.
Excellent. Any other questions?
Super excited about hearing about the Shakespeare on the patio, and sounds like you got good plans, so very excited.
Thank you.
What you do is, instill a sense of community for this town. People enjoy. They very much like going to the Contemporary Theater, and you have done an incredible job with your entire staff there, and I'm very proud to say that you are an awesome part of our community.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Chris? All right. Awesome.
I'll
I
make,
think we just need a recusal form
Absolutely.
for Joe because he's on your board.
I'll make a motion to approve item number 6A.
Second.
So moved. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And by a motion of 4-0, with one recusal, the motion carries unanimously.
Thank you all very much.
Congratulations.
We'll see you out
Good
there
luck.
this summer.
Good luck with it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And that brings us to item 7, which is a public hearing. This is the public hearing relative to the proposed amendments to the Town Code, Chapter 17, Taxation. And this is for veterans exemptions pursuant to General Law 1956 44-3-5.1 as amended. The Town Council is authorized to exempt from taxation a specified dollar amount of real and/or personal property of qualified individuals as defined in General Law 1956, Chapter 3 of Title 44, who are residents of the town of South Kingstown. Said individuals and the tax credit are as follows, and what you have printed in your agenda, if it's before you, is actually an increase of $10 in the line items for A, B, C, and E. And I believe we had, well, first, Steve, do you want to tell us about this?
The town has had a tax exemption program for multiple different groups for many years. One of those groups is military-related exemptions. On this evening's agenda is the product of a discussion that the council began back in December. In December, the council requested and received a study as to what the average values were associated with veteran exemptions across the state by the different categories. The council found that with that, that we were below what the state average was in several of the categories. Requested an estimate on what the value would be if the same number of participants were to participate next year as participated in the current year, and found that by increasing by $10 on the value of the tax exemptions, that it should have a value of between $10,000 and $11,000 of increased cost. Earlier today, we've done a complete review of the new tax roll and the applications for participation in the Veterans Exemption Program, and we find that while we had 1,102 participants in the current year, there's 1,057 or 45 less participants in the program. Some of that are for reasons of people moving out of the community or no longer eligible for the exemption. The projected value for increasing the $10 would increase the cost of the program by about $3,800. It was the council's intent in December to, over a 5-year period, exceed what the state average was for veteran-type exemptions. And that was going to be a cost of around $50,000 more than current year. The current year was costing about $140,000 in exemption value, and that would only increase to the $143,800. So what we were looking at is you could actually decrease the 5 years down to 2 years if you were to increase by $20 per year in each of the different categories that are listed on this evening's agenda, and still stay within the target of an increase in value of exemptions of the $10,000. So if the council's interested in accelerating, getting to that midpoint, then it certainly has the ability to stay within the $10,000 discipline and increase the increase for veterans of war from 126 to 146, the unmarried spouse of veteran from the 126 to 146, the 100% veteran disabled from 252 to 272, and the veterans who are prisoners of war up to from 420 to the 430. I would note that at this point there had been one prisoner of war that was taking advantage of program in 15. That is no longer a participant in the program, so there won't be any change there in terms of cash value, but we should continue to increase the value of that program. So if the council is interested in staying within the $10,000, they could at this point do a $20 versus a $10 increase on each of the categories that are listed under the public hearing A on your agenda.
Thank you. Questions from the council on this?
I really appreciate all the work that went into this. I'm excited to have our community get up to that state average. I'm certainly all for going with the $20 increase. I think rather than us taking the 5 years, if we can do it in 2 years, that's fantastic. So
Again, we'll look at it, and role certification is until June 15th, but I'm comfortable with where we are in the process of developing the role and the exemption component, that we have that flexibility.
Thank you. If there are no other comments from the council, I would open it up to the public. Is there anybody from the public who would like to speak on this public hearing? Very good. Then,
I'll make a motion.
so if you're looking at your agenda, the public hearing 7A, if you have anything to say on this particular issue, now would be the time. Okay.
If not, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
So moved, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And that motion carries unanimously.
And so,
I'll make a motion to entertain number 7A to amend from 5 years, the current term from 5 years to 2 years to stay within,
no, I think we're just this year by $20.
I think it would be easier if you were to just take the amendment so that 136 would now read 146.
okay, then I make the motion to entertain the 136 to 146 and the 262 on item C to 272 and the 420 to 430 for veterans who are prisoners of war.
Second.
I think there's the, excuse me, but also the Gold Star parent.
That one's not being included.
That's included in the
Yep, okay.
146.
Not the Gold Star. The Gold Star stays where it is because
Yep.
it was oversized.
Okay.
That-
Right.
As amended,
Oh.
yes.
As amended.
All right, we have a motion and a second.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And that motion carries unanimously. Item 8, communications. We have one tonight, a resolution adopted March 23rd, 2016 by the Burrillville Town Council in support of legislation to restore funding for state aid to libraries to the full 25% required by Rhode Island General Law, Public Library Services. It's been received and placed on file. What are we going to do with it?
I'll make a motion to file item number 8A.
Second?
So moved. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And that motion carries unanimously, and it brings us to item 9, comments from interested citizens. This is the public's chance to come up and to the podium, state your name for the record, where you're from, and speak your mind. It's I think there's going to be plenty of speakers.
Good evening. My name is Bob Traeger. Haven't been over for quite a while. I decided to give town councils another shot, so I went to Narragansett last Monday, and I'm going to try to come every week if I can. I don't come with an agenda that I want something, although I do want something, but I don't want it for me personally. And I'm going to just, today I didn't have anything at all to plan, but I just mentioned a couple of things that came by the boards today. 400 individuals were taken to jail in Washington today for protesting about a situation that we should all be protesting about. Just want to make that comment. I think it's unbelievable. I did watch a little bit of that demonstration, and the part I watched seemed very peaceful. But they did say they were going to go into revolution, so maybe they did. I don't know how far they went, but I can't think of, I think we're going to go pretty far to get some of these things done, because we are under the grips of the biggest, a very few are running the whole show. It's pretty obvious. I think I've mentioned at this meeting before, the way I feel about it is that I think we're complacent because we're living in a little cocoon down here in South Kingstown. But this is a tough world we got out there now, and it's hard not to see it because it's just every day it's the same thing. I want to mention one other thing. I watched a program on C-SPAN the other day. They gave some awards to investigative journalists. And I comment on one of them, which I think is unbelievable, but it's not unbelievable. That's the part, you know. It's unbelievable, but it's not. The credit card industry, the corporate lawyers for the credit card industry have successfully made it almost impossible for a citizen to bring them to court. They've got some kind of a arbitration thing worked out, and most people can't do it. Like if you have a small claim, you can't do it. Who can afford to hire a lawyer? It's very hard to do. Anyway, I thought I'd mention that one because I don't know what's going to be done about that. And there were five or six other people that had very interesting stories, that investigative journalism, which is going by the boards, by the way. People, the news industry, they don't want to support it. So these are people that are kind of dedicated, and thank God we still got a few of them, and thank God we're in a country they can do it, because there's a lot of countries you can't. And the other thing that I just kept popped into my head now is that one that the corruption in Kenya. We got plenty right here in the United States, plenty. But compared to some of these other countries, we haven't even begun to learn how to do it. You know, but it's being done. I mean, anyway, I'll see you next couple of weeks.
Thank you, Bob.
Well, I have positive things to say to this town council and town manager, its lawyers, and all of the people in all the different departments. I want to thank you very much for getting on the side of solar and other alternative energy sources. We're in serious trouble, as you all know. All you have to do is look at the paper. I just saw how the sea levels are going to affect us here in South County. So we're really doing our part. I'm all excited about this. I put 20 panels on my roof, and I'm going to be my own, a little bit decentralized power plant. I'm going to be giving back instead of just taking, you know. And so that really I'm very excited about that. The other thing is it's helping to create jobs. This, you know, I mean, this goes beyond parties here. Everyone talks about creating jobs and putting these 20 panels. I mean, there were 6 people that were employed, plus the panels were made in this country. It's a no-brainer. So I'm encouraging you folks to really keep going. I mean, this is just the beginning, and the new EPA standards about methane and how they were underreporting it, and now how dangerous this stuff is. We really need to really keep pushing this, really sincerely. And even Pope Francis, we call him Pope Frank sometimes, has really come out in a very strong way for this. This is also a spiritual matter here. This is the earth. Lastly, thank you for turning our town dump into a life-giving, life-affirming project. Thanks.
Martin, I'm not sure, did you give your name for the record? I didn't catch it. Just.
Yes. Martin Lipkowski,
Right.
Wakefield.
Thank you.
I'm Christine Mueller from Kingston. I teach a course on climate change, and I'm a board member of Rhode Island Interfaith Power and Light. As you may know, during the past 10,000 years or so, our Earth has had a quite stable climate, which allowed humans to develop agriculture and build civilizations. But since the Industrial Revolution, human activities have raised the average global temperature by about 1 degree Celsius. That's about 1.8 degrees Fahrenheit. If we continue with business as usual, average global temperature may rise by 4 to 5 degrees by the end of the century. But scientists agree that already a 2 degrees Celsius rise would be a disaster. At 2 degrees Celsius, 3.6 degrees Fahrenheit, of warming would inundate many islands and low-lying areas, including in Rhode Island. 2 degrees Celsius would also mean the passing of tipping points, which would result in irreversible climatic changes to which humans may likely not be able to adapt to. Scientists, as well as all 195 countries at the Paris Climate Conference this past December, agreed that we must keep global average temperature well below 2 degrees Celsius and, if possible, not over 1.5 degrees Celsius. It will be very difficult to keep global average temperature well below 2 degrees Celsius. As there is much inertia in the climate system, we have not yet experienced the full impact of the carbon we have already released into the atmosphere. Even if we could stop all emissions right now, the Earth would continue to warm for another half a degree Celsius. That will bring us already to 1.4 degrees Celsius. The quantity of additional carbon that can be added to the atmosphere is very small if we want to keep average global temperature rise to well below 2 degrees Celsius. So we must do everything we can to reduce carbon emissions, and we must act fast. We need to do fundamental changes in many things we are doing. The most important change is to transition to renewable energy as quickly as possible. I'm here to express support for your efforts to transition our town to renewable energy. Climate change is not only a scientific and political issue, but a moral issue, as Martin has mentioned already. If we are not taking action now, we are responsible for the displacement of large numbers of people because of sea level rise and worse natural disasters, and for widespread human suffering and death caused by droughts, famines, floods, and extremely strong storms. Climate change is not something we can deal with in the future. If we are not acting now, right now, it will be too late. I will end with a shortened version of the words of the Lakota chief Avol Looking Horse. To us, as caretakers of the heart of Mother Earth, falls the responsibility of turning back the powers of destruction. We have come to a time and place of great urgency. The fate of future generations rests in our hands. You can't escape the consequences of your own decision. On your decision depends the fate of the entire world. You must decide. You can't avoid it. Each of us is put here in this time and this place to personally decide the future of humankind. Did you think the Creator would create unnecessary people in a time of such terrible danger? Know that you yourself are essential to this world. Believe that. Understand both the blessing and the burden of that. You yourself are desperately needed to save the soul of this world. Did you think you were put here for something else? For something less? Thank you for listening.
I'm Peter Nightingale, and do I need to spell that? There's an I in the middle, not an E. I teach physics at URI, and there are three things that I would like to discuss with you. The first one is more or less a continuation of what Christine just said and Martin. They're facts, but they have serious moral implications. The second part is I want to just confront you with some of the facts of climate change as they have already happened, and we can extrapolate where that goes next. And then finally, I would like to stress something else, which is there is a solution for this problem. It's not happening not because the solutions aren't there, it's not happening for political reasons, and we all know what they are. We've lost control over the economy. The economy has become our boss. So there are those three things, and let me start. So in the long run, it turns out that climate change is determined by the cumulative total amount of carbon dioxide that has been emitted since the Industrial Revolution. When those emissions took place or were, it doesn't really matter at all. It just matters how much did we put out there. The implication of that is that humanity has to live on a finite emissions budget. We spend it and we're done, we're cooked, literally. Now, here is where the morality comes in. The US, which contains 5% of world population, put more than 25% of the carbon into the atmosphere. China, on the other hand, which has about 20% of the world population, that's 4 times as much, has put in about 10%. So per capita, we outdo them by a factor of 10. That tells us who should stop emissions. It's us. But even if we were today to stop cold turkey putting carbon dioxide or any greenhouse gas in the atmosphere, we would have already overspent our fair share. Nothing we can do about that other than be aware of it. Now, if you study, and people have studied this and I've followed it for a while, if you study what the weather has done over the last 5 decades or so, and this is not a model calculation, this is just take all the weather stations in the world and look at the collected data, you will find out, and Hansen and Sato looked at this several times and updated their findings. If you compare what happened 45 years ago, extreme weather events in the Northern Hemisphere happened about 0.3% of the time. That's 0.3% of the time. Right now, that 0.3% has become 15%. That's over less than 50 years. The extreme weather events that we're seeing have multiplied by a factor of 50. Now, if you're a physicist and you're interested in orders of magnitude, something like that gets your attention, because that normally happens only on geological timescales. These days, a decade has become a geological timescale. I can't imagine what that means, but I know that that's the case. So what do we need to do? Well, we have to globally cut our emissions to make sure that we don't have put this weight on future generations. We have to cut our emissions globally by 7% per year. Let's say that we do our fair share, if you call that fair, which is arguable, but I'm not sure. That's what we have to do. So, well, I'm very happy, and I join in the previous 2 speakers, I'm very happy that South Kingstown is building solar farms. It's phenomenal. You have to start somewhere. But I have this nasty habit. When I'm confronted with what we're doing, I go home and I do a little calculation on the back of an envelope. So what I found out is that if those things are operational, they will be able to provide 2% of what South Kingstown uses. That's a one-shot deal. So you have to, what we should be doing is we have to have 3 times that and do it every year. Now, if we do indeed do it every year, 10 years from now, we would only have to do 1.5 times that. But this is not, okay, we do it and we're done. No, we have to do this again and again and again and again.
Professor.
So what also we could do to give you some idea, and I'm not saying that this is practical, I'll get to that, we could build 80 wind towers, 5 megawatts each. It's not a phenomenal number, it's doable, it wouldn't be all that pretty, and maybe not all that practical, but it can be done. Now there is a plan that actually has figured out how you do all these things. It's called the Solutions Plan. And the Solutions Plan has a program for every state in the nation, almost every country on the surface of the globe, it seems. And let me tell you what the prescription of the doctor is for Rhode Island. It will be 100% wind, sun, and water in about 35 years, 2050. 10% of it will be rooftop solar. 10% will be on. I'm almost there.
Okay.
10% will be onshore wind, 20% solar farms, 60% off in the ocean. And what it would do, and this is the clincher, it would increase the fuel price from 11 cents per kilowatt hour to 13 cents per kilowatt hour. I'll leave you with one question. Where do you buy a new planet for that price? Thanks.
My name is Connie Green, and I'm a property owner in South Kingstown and a concerned citizen. I just want to say that briefly that I fully support the Town Council in its effort to reduce energy consumption, and I hope the Council will be able to give this initiative its highest priority. I myself will do anything I can to promote this initiative among the residents that I talk to, and any other ideas you have for how a citizen can help, I would love to hear them. I understand the Council has created or is creating an energy commission. Is this true?
We have not done it yet.
You have
It's
not done
something
it.
that's
Something
that we're
that might happen.
gonna
Well, I
take
fully
under
support
discussion.
that. That would be a wonderful idea.
Thank you.
So thank you, council members, for your vision and your action, now and in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Spencer Dickinson. I live on South Road. I like to, and I want to reemphasize or restate my sense that I agree with the people who've come before me and said thank you to the town council. Thank you for what you're doing. I understand there's a major wind farm effort underway. I'm very happy to live in the town that's doing that, and probably when it gets done, it will be the biggest in the state and the leader for the other, an example for the other towns.
Just to clarify, solar farm.
What did I say?
Wind farm.
I meant to say solar farm. Maybe I have wind farm under mine, and that's my next thought. I built a solar house more years ago than I want to admit, probably 40, and quite a few since then. And I did that because when I was a little kid, I thought it was important, and I still do. But I take the very practical approach. What can we do? Is 2% enough? South Kingstown has 75 square miles. A square mile is 5,280 square feet on a side. That's a lot of territory. It's possible that we could fit a few wind towers. And proceeding from the theoretical to the practical, I just want to point out, you've probably read it in the paper, but just in case you haven't, the town of West Warwick is doing something very interesting. Their town manager, Fred Presley, was good enough to meet with me and tell me a little bit about what they're doing. They put out a request for proposals pertaining to wind towers, and they got a request. They got a response. It essentially involved that they don't have a lot of extra land in West Warwick the way we do. They are leasing land from a wind farm in Coventry, which already has approvals. And Fred Presley took a proposal to the people of West Warwick to own 3 wind towers in Coventry, if you can believe that. The people voted for somewhere around $16 to $18 million. The people voted for it with more than 80%. That's because they like money. And they realize that the town of West Warwick is going to make money on this deal. There were 10 sites located in one wind farm in Coventry. That's where the first 3 went. The second 3 went, interestingly enough, to the Narragansett Bay Commission, which built 3 wind towers on their sewage plant site in Providence. And they said, this is working so well for us financially that we, the Narragansett Bay Commission, we want more wind towers. We don't have room for them. Where can we put them? They picked up the next 3 locations in Coventry. I'm not proposing that we do that in South Kingstown, but what I am saying is that we consider the fact that this is a serious possibility, that people who like money, in addition to wanting to save the planet, and I'm falling into both categories, I'll admit it, are taking this seriously. What can the South Kingstown Council do? And by the way, I should point out, in my conversation with Fred Presley, I found out that he knows that he has what amounts to an industrial town. A lot of factories have left the town. He knows that his vision is to, not just those 3 wind towers, he doesn't have room for a wind farm, but he's looking into solar on every building that the town owns. He envisions a small public utility centered on the town of West Warwick, maybe owned by the town of West Warwick. And he realizes, or he believes, that when the energy prices come down, the factories come back. And I think that's true. Take a ride out to the biggest, noisiest factory in South Kingstown, which is Modine Manufacturing on Fairgrounds Road, where it sounds like Detroit because they're making air conditioners and heat pumps. The manager of that plant told me if they had to build a plant again, it wouldn't be in Rhode Island. They're happy they're here and they're not moving. But the one thing that makes them think twice is the cost of energy, not labor. They're not worried about China. They're worried about energy costs. And when you start adding something else to the mix, we all know supply and demand, the price comes down. What can South Kingstown do? And here's my request. I think I made it a year ago here, but I'm very persistent. Put out a request for proposals, just an open-minded request. Have people bring ideas. The guy who owns the wind tower in North Kingstown, Mark DiPasquale, is very possibly somebody who would bring a proposal. He would build a switching station at the landfill, put up 2 wind towers, possibly a couple more. He has leases with some neighbors. There are several neighbors that I know of that wouldn't mind being part of a wind farm centered around the landfill. That might not be a good idea, but you might be surprised at the ideas you did get. Thank you.
Thank you, Spencer.
Thank you.
I will say that the committee that we're considering creating would be taking up questions and considerations just like what people are bringing forward here today. So thank you for bringing those forward.
John McLaughlin, I'm a new resident to the town. I've been here less than 3 years. I really thought it was nice of you people to help the veterans today. That was a very good thing, and I'm here. I knew they were going to talk about solar energy, but I have to disagree with one comment that was made that the economy is out of control. We may think it is, but I really believe that we can do things ourselves and we can change things. Everybody has that ability. When I see a wind tower, I was a number 11 in Vietnam in the draft. That meant that I was in the lottery and I was going to have to either, when I left college, go to Vietnam or go to Canada or be a conscientious objector. Those were the 3 choices. When I see a wind tower, I think of, when I see them in Providence, I think of less people being killed in war. That's what I see. Very strange today that I went into a convenience store, and a gentleman that I know is a Middle Easterner from the Middle East. He showed me about 100 pictures of people when they were children that died in Syria recently. 3 kids together. Showed them as friends, kids in school, and then he showed them dead. To me, the wind tower is much more than economy. It's much more than what Spencer says with money. Money is a wonderful thing, but it's about human lives. And I hope you listen to the message I'm sending, and I really believe you will, because you wouldn't have supported veterans. You must value human life. I'm very willing. I'm retired. I'm not at the stage of my life where I'm trying to do good things. I could, I'm trying to sell 2 properties right now. I'm very interested in putting a solar farm in, and I'm very interested in working with the town. I'm not the kind of guy that's going to come in and say, I want it here and the hell with everybody, in Matunic, for example. I don't believe in doing things that are wrong. You work together with everybody. And I would be willing to buy property in this town and put a solar farm in. I've been looking at these for a few years, and I've got contacts across the country with big companies that do this. And it's very, very simple to do. It really, really is. And I'm just a regular citizen trying to help out. And I want you to know there are people out there that will do the right thing. And I hope you just take this ball and run with it. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Stephen Dahl, D-A-H-L. Thanks, if I may stick with the first names, Christine, Martin, Peter, Connie, Spencer, and John, for your comments. Yeah, I've seen the, I'm from Michigan. I've been to Flint. I am from a suburb of Detroit, which would never, ever have water like the kind in Flint, and my suburb would never, ever have its water cut off or rationed like they have in Detroit. That's because it's a wealthy suburb. And they control Michigan. So, what have we here? Solar, good. Wind, good. War, bad. In order to reinvigorate our social contract, in order to bring us all together, with both private companies and small grids of community power, I think we can come to the result that we want to reach. We need to think about other people, make sure that what we're building doesn't hack off our neighbors and bring the projects down. We need wind to be built at least, I believe it is, 800 meters from residences or other facilities at which people live, schools, etc. We need to, you might find this laughable, but if my article ever does come out on Thursday in the Independent, you can read it there, on Wi-Fi. And smart meters, which would be related to that, are a concern for some. I guess it's something like 4% of the people in Sweden have been, where they have a lot of Wi-Fi, have been diagnosed with a hypersensitivity to electromagnetic fields. Moving right along, I think we need to take care of our future generations, and I think so often of my children, 6 and 8, in our South Kingstown schools at West Kingston, which is a wonderful school, and I hate the damn Cisco transmitters above their heads in the rooms. I think it's a bloody mistake. I think it's hurting people. In my job, I'm closer to it at my desk than I am to you people right up here, and it beams at me. I don't like it. Anyway, have a good evening, and thank you for being here for us.
Thank you, Stephen. You can come up again, Bob. Try to keep it short, though.
Thanks for letting me speak twice, but this is why I come. This is why I come. This is big time today. I don't have to watch C-SPAN with people like this around the community. They know what's up. They know what needs to be done. And I've said this before, all politics is local. I'm not the only one. Millions of people say it. It's true. You are the people that have to do the stuff. Because believe me, you can't. Washington's never going to do it unless the public really wakes up. This is some meeting. I'm stimulated, I really am. These people are unbelievable.
Thank you. Sure.
Sorry, I forgot to mention one thing. I did go to the University of Rhode Island, and I'm very interested in, if I were to do a solar farm or wind power thing, I would love to be able to sell it at discount rate, a cheaper rate than the University of Rhode Island can get or the municipal government could get. It would be something that would benefit the town, and it would benefit the state also. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments from the public at this time? Comments from council members?
I have a few things, if I may. I just wanted to say our Little League has its opening day on April 23rd, which I think we've all been invited to and look forward to very much. Also, April 23rd at the Elks Club, there is a steak fry to benefit the Jason Foreman Memorial Scholarship Foundation, which is certainly a good cause, and I hope that as many of us that can go do show up for that. This past weekend, a few of us had the opportunity to go to the Elks for a fundraiser for the American Cancer Society in memory of Randy Madison, who was a very good friend of mine. We went to high school together. He passed away a bit ago from cancer, and it was a really great event. His mom, Jean Madison, watches every one of these meetings from her living room, so I'm sure she's home right now.
Go, Jean.
And, you know, when we think of her sitting at home watching it, I hope you know that the people at home do pay attention to what's going on here. Our audience is definitely bigger than what is here. And it's always good to come out when you can. And if you're not able to, certainly just watch from home. So thank you.
I can concur with that, but I love to see people in the audience. I truthfully do. Not everybody can come out at night. Not everybody wants to, particularly in the winter. But, you know, in the budget, we have the proposal going through to have live streaming as opposed to next day streaming, so you can watch it live. But I would certainly encourage people to come out, because it's so good to hear your voice when you're in front of us, because when you're watching your TV, we don't know how you feel all the time. So being here is being part of the community, and being here is helping us to do our job increasingly better, because we're not here to serve ourselves. We're here to serve our constituents, and that's the most important thing that I bring back. There are some things I may agree with or I may not agree with, but it's not my personal agreement. It's all about the community. So I would encourage as many people to come out. It makes me feel good to hear the opinions of everybody tonight. It really does. Thank you.
All right, then. Steve, why don't you take it away?
I think we covered everything in the pre-session, but I do want to remind the public that this Wednesday and Thursday at 7 o'clock will be the two public hearings on the 2016-17 budget, at which time public will have an opportunity to ask questions or provide council with comments. The council is still scheduled for the final adoption of the budget at the April 25th meeting, which would be the next regular town council session. So hopefully we will have members of the school committee here to be able to address questions from the school program, as well as the other 9 municipal funds that the town council is responsible for.
We do have a resolution that's on the consent agenda. I thought maybe you could speak to this, the Older Americans Month.
Trouble, Abel.
Ow.
Yes, I can.
Yeah.
That resolution is an important resolution to recognize that a good portion of our population is older than you, Abel.
That's
Possibly
true, that's true.
More wise than you.
Perhaps.
And that there needs to be a recognition of what they have been able to accomplish for the community, as well as the value that they bring. One of the things that will occur also is that there will be an open invitation from the Elks Club for April 28th at 4 o'clock. Fortunately, as a member of the council, you will be invited to attend, even though you have not reached the ripe age. But I think it's an important acknowledgement. I think our community center for the seniors certainly provides and is a beacon for recognizing what the needs are, and hopefully us properly addressing them on behalf of the overall community.
Thank you. And then I guess it must be the solicitor's turn.
So my mom is 80, and she does not consider herself.
That's a beautiful thing.
I don't either.
Unless there are questions.
Very good. Do we have any appointments to make?
Reappointment.
We're on item 12 now, for people following along.
I'll make a resolution to reappoint David Palizzetti to the Recreation Commission for a term to expire in June of 2019.
I second that.
So moved. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries unanimously. Item 13, under new business, is item B, a resolution authorizing an award of bid to Coastal International Trucks, LLC of Warwick, for a 2017 International 7400 dump truck with Peel Duraclass dump body and Viking snowplow in an amount not to exceed $157,378, including trade-in, and is further described in a memo from the Public Services Director to the Town Manager.
As I mentioned in the pre-session with the council, that there were 3 bids that were submitted. The lowest numbered bid has been disqualified based on not meeting the specifications that were assigned for the vehicle. Recommendation is as presented on the agenda this evening for a total bid price of $157,378, and that's net of the trade-in.
Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve item number, is it 13B?
B, 13B.
B.
Second.
So moved. Any discussion?
I just had a question. Are trucks of this nature assessed a different way than a regular vehicle would be? I'm just wondering about the discrepancy in the trade-in values. You know, we have one that's $5,500, then one that's $2,500. I wasn't sure. It just doesn't seem like a lot.
A lot of it depends on the company that's bidding as to whether they've got a use for the vehicle or whether there's what they see as the resale value that would be associated with it.
It just seems like we didn't really get much for our trade-ins, but is that usually in line with what we get?
Yes, because the condition of the truck, one of the issues that you have with any of the trucks that are being used for plowing and sanding is the corrosive nature of the salts that they're carrying. With this truck itself, we've got problems with each of the different components, whether it's the transmissions or whether it's the undercarriage of the vehicle is rotted. So We don't see that there's great utility for that vehicle. There may be parts on that truck that one vendor may see as advantageous to them for resale. Usually these are very minimal values that are presented.
Do we ever hang on to our vehicles as like a backup vehicle in case, there's a failure or something breaks?
We would if we felt that we could spend good money on that vehicle and get a return on it. However, based on the conditions that, in fact, both vehicles that we have here this evening, we don't see that putting money into them to keep them operational would be in the town's best interest.
Okay, thank
The
you.
other thing, too, is every time we keep a vehicle in the yard, we pay full insurance prices on that as well, on a unit value. So there's a cost just to stand still with those type of vehicles. And if they're not being used, the decay accelerates.
Okay, thank you.
Any further comments or questions? All right, all in favor of 13B, say aye.
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 That motion carries unanimously. 13C is a resolution authorizing an award of bid to Liberty Chevrolet of Wakefield for a 2016 Chevrolet 3500 HD four-wheel drive pickup truck with snowplow in an amount not to exceed $31,422, including the trade-in, and is further described in a memo from the Public Services Director to the town manager.
Again, this received 3 bids. We're recommending award to the lowest qualified bidder. And again, to address the concerns that Liz had, we're trading in a 2005 Chevrolet that has severe chassis rot on it, as well as the electrical system has been compromised based on the environment that it operates in, and we've got a problem with the transmission. Keeping that type of a vehicle would not be appropriate for us.
Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve item number 13C.
Second?
So moved. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries unanimously. Brings us to 13E, a resolution authorizing an amendment to an award of contract originally granted on October 9th, 2012, and subsequently amended on July 22nd, 2013, to Edwards Rouse Architects of Providence for architectural and engineering services for the Emergency Medical Services South Station renovations from an amount not to exceed $31,700 to an amount not to exceed $39,550, as further described in a memo from the Public Services Director to the town manager.
We've been dealing with renovations to the old police station, which is now the Public Services Building. What we've found is that many of the improvements that were necessary, replacements of the generator as well as the electrical systems, we've had to complete that work in advance of dealing with and addressing the garage space that's necessary for proper housing of the EMS vehicles. We're at a point now where we've completed all of the improvements other than the garage itself. What we're looking to do is to have a $7,850 increase in the engineering design so that we can get this project completed this calendar year. With the engineering and architectural completed, we're looking to hopefully start construction as early as July, and to be able to be set for the next winter season to properly house those vehicles, the full-size vehicles. This also will mean that we won't need to customize the EMS ambulances to be able to fit within the structure that we have. So I'd recommend the council approve that. We've got $422,000 currently available. I want to see the bids on this before the close of the fiscal year, if there's a need for us to make any further adjustments as far as cost.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve item number 13E.
A second?
So moved. Any discussion?
I had a question, Steve. The $422,000 that we have set aside for the project, was that approved in 2012, or?
There were multiple, there's been monies advanced from the June for the 2014-15 year, as well as the initial capital budget funding. So there's been different sources of the revenue, but what's net now after we put the generator in and the other improvements is the 422.
And then the garage that we're installing is obviously, like you said, going to be large enough to accommodate the rescue, and I know that the rescues seem to get bigger every year, so it will be able to accommodate, we anticipate, rescues in the future as well?
Yeah, there's going to be at minimum a 4-foot push-out of the existing garage space itself, so that we'll pick up an additional 4 feet.
Oh, great, okay. Thank
We
you.
also had removed some of the electrical boxes that compromise some of the space in one of the bays, which will provide greater flexibility.
Great, thanks.
All right. All in favor of 13E, say aye.
Aye.
And that motion carries unanimously, and it brings us to the end of the agenda. I would welcome a motion to...
Entertain a motion to adjourn.
I second.
So moved. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye.